Hey, hello. Okay, so it has been about a week since the Goodreads Choice Awards initial round dropped, and I am way behind, but I have not looked at them yet. In a shocking development, I'm sure, to everyone, I actually had a pretty robust social life last week, and I just did not have time to assess. And honestly, I wasn't tempted to look in a way that in years past I probably would have been. I'm feeling kind of like this onigiri on my shirt that I am obsessed with about the whole thing. Honestly, sidebar, I bought this onigiri in many forms after I found it, including a bath bomb that had a surprise onigiri inside, but the bath bomb itself also looked like an onigiri, but this face just spoke to me on a spiritual level in combination with the fact that I think onigiri is delicious. Anyway, I'm feeling just kind of meh about the whole thing. And honestly, I'm going in this year not really expecting to know a lot of these books, which is really hard for me to kind of reconcile because in years past, I really have been up on the selections. In some categories, I've read a lot of the books, and within the last few years, I feel that slipping, that familiarity slipping a little bit. And I think it's a combination of things. One, I am just unquestionably reading less than I had previously. So that means I'm going to be familiar with less. But also, I feel like the popular zeitgeist in some ways is shifting beyond me. And that's hard because I've always had my finger on the pulse, and I would like to think I still have a sense of the pulse, but I don't know that I'm always gravitating toward what is considered the most popular anymore. And I guess this will be a test of that. Now, regardless, I'm very happy with the books I'm choosing to read. And again, the usual caveats that this is far from a perfect system. It is a popularity contest at the end of the day, and the criteria to even be nominated could absolutely be critiqued. But before we jump into the nominees themselves and what I think I'm going to vote for, if I can't even vote in whatever category, hi, my name is Melody. I talk about books and book adjacent things on this channel. If this is your first time hanging out, would love for you to hang out more, whether this is your first or not your first time. But I guess without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into these initial round nominations. Okay, I've got screen record on, so this is my first time I think I'm doing it live, which is on me. So okay, 2024 readers' favorites. Let's jump right into fiction. I see a Sally Rooney right off the bat. Okay, here is a bunch of books that I have had my eye on and have not yet read. Martyr, I have not gotten to yet. Sally Rooney's Intermezzo, I have not yet read, but I have a copy on my shelf. As we are kind of wrapping up the year, I know I have a limited number of Feature Fridays left, especially as I have been not good at them this year. I fully own up to that. So I'm hoping that Intermezzo will be one of the books that I am expediting or featuring yet in a Feature Friday. Okay, we have an Elizabeth Strout, not surprising. The Miranda July, I haven't really had that on my radar at all. I have read Amanda July in the past. Dolly Alderton's Good Material, which I think I mistakenly thought came out the end of last year, but I think that was the UK release. Wandering Stars, not surprising, and what is surprising is, well, that's not surprising either. I still need to get to it. Have I actually read any of these? Not yet, which is not good for me. Usually I do have some books in the fiction category, so okay, let's move on to historical fiction. And again, I'm not sure. I have not been reading a lot in what I would consider just straightforward historical fiction, even though historically, no pun intended, that had been a category or a genre I considered one of my favorites, but it is what it is. Okay, I do still need to read the Silvia Moreno Garcia, which means that this reading year has been a little off for me because the fact that I still have the new Silvia Moreno Garcia to read. I feel like I've been hearing about the Kristen Hanna everywhere, so I would foresee that doing well or taking it. Okay, James is under historical fiction, which is interesting. I have not read it yet. I need to read it. I am anticipating it getting a lot of the awards this year. It just won the Barnes & Noble Award. I know that there's some conversation around how the Booker shook out. Maybe I will go back and read the Booker winner this year as well. Let me know if you're interested in that. But yeah, I guess this makes sense, but because it is a retelling of Huck Finn, it has that intertextuality. I don't know where else I'd place it, but okay. The Great Divide, I have a copy of that I picked up at Printers Row that I still need to read. As much as I would love it to go to James, from everything I've heard about it as a book, I do think that based on the fact that it, at the end of the day, is a popularity contest, the women will probably take it. But we will see. Thriller, I'm not expecting really to have read anything. I have not yet read the new Rachel Hawkins. Society of Lies, I had to take back to the library before I could get it read. The others I'm seeing, you will have to let me know. Oh, the Amiko Jean I have not read yet, but have on my radar. The God of the Woods, I've been seeing a lot of places this year, so I have a feeling that that may be a contender. But you guys let me know if I should check out any of these, I guess, because I haven't read any of them. So moving on to romance, where I will inevitably be disappointed by the lack of historical. Not surprising. Okay, we've got Funny Story, Bride, Not in Love. Okay. I'm fascinated. I guess I haven't read the Kevin Kwan, but fascinated by that being categorized as romance because I don't think of him traditionally as category romance. His books obviously have a romance component or a romantic component, but not category romance. But either way, okay, Kennedy Ryan, the Tia Williams. That shows how long this year has been because for some reason I forgot that came out this year. Abby Jimenez, which I don't think I've read any Abby Jimenez, but I see her everywhere. I've been seeing a lot about Swift and Saddled, but have not read it. I don't know. Honestly, I feel I would be between, I mean, granted, I've only read 3 of these, I guess, which for me, for romance, not a great showing, but it would be between Bride and Funny Story for me. I'm gonna have to think about it. I was pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed Funny Story, only because the kind of conceit of it could have easily been really uncomfortable for me as a reader, just like that awkwardness and that secondhand embarrassment. Additionally, I didn't dislike Happy Place, but Happy Place was far from my favorite. So anyway, okay, so yeah, so this is the main romance category. Romantasy is still split, and we have not a single historical in this category. So that may be a larger conversation that we need to have come December. I know I've talked about it a lot in like little pockets, but maybe we should revisit that. Okay, Romantasy, honestly, I'm not anticipating having read any of these either. I have The Honey Witch. I haven't read it. Okay, I've read Feybound. That being categorized as a romantasy versus a fantasy is interesting. I had to take the spell shot back to the library before I could get it read. I have A Dark and Drowning Tide out from the library right now. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I would vote for Feybound in a romance-forward category. So I don't know. All right, let's move on to fantasy. Okay, The Familiar I still need to read. I've read An Academy for Liars. Map of the Otherlands I have read. When Among Crows I have not read, but I heard her talk about, and that was a great discussion. This is my category. Okay, The Warm Hands of Ghosts, The Foxwife. Okay, and then these books, I haven't read Dead Cat Tales Assassins yet, but I'm interested in it. I'm interested in A Sorceress Comes to Call. This feels like where I'm living right now, and this is just, I guess, straight fantasy, but even this feels a little different in terms of it's not like the high fantasy I was used to seeing in this category. So that is interesting and definitely a movement. It's a lot more, there are a lot more speculative titles here, right? Okay, so this is hard, but at the same time, it's not hard in that I think many of these books are deserving of the award, but not having admittedly read The Familiar yet, I have to give it to The Warm Hands of Ghosts because I adore that book. So look, I voted in at least one category. So, okay, moving on to science fiction, where I don't anticipate having read any of these. Oh, that's a lie. I literally just finished The Ministry of Time, and let me tell you, I loved it. We're going to talk about it more in a Feature Friday. I've read Annie Bot. Okay, I've read 2. I have The Other Valley on my list. I have not read The Blueprint, but I saw a TikTok from a TikToker, Brianna, who I love quite a lot, and I will try to remember to throw up her profile here, really loving this book. So yeah, I guess I have read more science fiction than I thought. I have some of these other books on my radar. As of now, I am going to vote for The Ministry of Time, simply because I loved it quite a lot. I don't know. Okay, moving on to horror. The last couple of years, I have surprisingly read a lot of the titles in this category. This year, I'm not sure if that will still pan out because I feel like I've read less than usual. But if the Mariana Enriquez isn't here, we will see. Okay, for the first 4 that I'm seeing, I have not read yet. I haven't read This Cursed House, but that's on my list. Okay, we're okay. The Mariana Enriquez is here. I also still need to read House of Bone and Rain. Yeah, okay. I have not read nearly as many this year. The Eyes Are the Best Part. I feel like I've been seeing that cover recently. Intrigued. T. Kingfisher, that's not surprising. I should pick that up. I've been seeing the Bog Wife cover around. I really should look into that. Okay, I'm gonna vote for the Mariana Enriquez because I still loved it. Okay, debut novel. Let's see here. All right. This isn't super surprising. These, I feel, okay. Book of Doors, Ministry of Time, Martyr, those are all books that I've been seeing around. I loved The Ministry of Time. Glorious Exploits is here. I wonder why this wasn't in historical. I wonder if we'll see it in comedy, if there is still a comedy category. There's not. That's fascinating. So why wasn't this in either fiction or historical fiction? Because it should have been. Okay. The Truth According to Ember. Masquerade, which wasn't in fantasy. Okay, I don't know. In the sense that I think that there are some books in this category that should have also been recognized in other categories. But that's just me. So because of that, I am going to go ahead and vote for Glorious Exploits because it deserves some recognition of some kind. It was a fantastic book. Oh, there's an audiobook category this year. Still no middle grade back. Still obviously no short story collection because we saw Mariana Enriquez in another category. Okay, reader's favorite audiobook. Have I listened to any of these? And will enough Goodreads users have listened to any or enough audiobooks to vote in this? I don't know. I have not listened to any of these, and I could see the average everyday user just again going ahead and voting for their favorite. I don't love the idea of an Audible original being here because this is a very specific production of 1984. I understand that, but I have a lot of problems with Audible original audiobooks, or Audible exclusive, I should say, audiobooks, because that means obviously that only people within the Amazon ecosystem can use that, and it makes sense that it would appear on a Goodreads list because Goodreads was bought out years and years ago, as we know, by Amazon, but yeah, don't love that. Okay, let's go to young adult fantasy, where I will surely know significantly less yet again. Okay, right off the bat, I read The Invocations, though that feels like a lifetime ago. I really enjoyed that book. Where the Dark Stands Still, I need to get read. The Poisons We Drink, I need to read. Don't Let the Forest In, I need to read. Air has been in transit from the library for months at this point, so I think it's one of those that got lost in the system. Ruthless Vows, The Prisoner's Throne, For She Is Wrath, and Immortal Dark are all books I need to read. Where the Library Hides, I still need to read the first book. It is notable that we have had a boycott, essentially, of a certain press that went on for a significant amount of time, and a lot of those titles are still showing up on these lists. That is what it is. Okay, young adult fiction, which here we are in young adult fiction. A Crane Among Wolves is here. That's so exciting. I loved that book. I love, as you probably know, June Her as a historical author in young adult. I think she's one of the best voices, her and Stacey Lee, though I do still need to read the new Stacey Lee from this year. Most Ardently was great. Okay, I'm gonna vote for A Crane Among Wolves because I love it. Did I have anything? Let's go back to young adult fantasy for a second. I got so caught up in what I haven't read, which I think is the thing. I think that I've read The Invocations. So I guess I've read one of these. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and vote for The Invocations because I liked it. It's doing something different. It's spikier, and that female rage really speaks to me in this moment, probably even more than it did when I first read it. A lot, actually, of the themes of that book really, you know what? Okay, yeah, absolutely. All right, nonfiction. I feel like I haven't been as great at nonfiction this year, so let's see if I even have read any of these, which I know is the theme of the whole thing, but here we are. One in a Millennial came out this year? Is that right? Okay, so The Anxious Generation I have been seeing a lot about. I really do have interest in that. I feel like I've been holding off because I have anxiety that I have been controlling pretty well recently, and it feels like a thing where if I read about it, I will aggravate that, which I know is magical thinking. But there are enough things to aggravate that anxiety now. It's not hysteria. I feel like I've seen this around. Yes, that would be a good book to read, and an important book right now to have a more thorough understanding of that. Okay, let's move on to memoir. Okay, here we have, all right, Grief is for People, which I mistakenly earlier this year, I think thought was going to help guide me through grief a little more actively, but it was an excellent memoir. Interesting to see a TikTok memoir on here. And yeah, okay, I still need to read the new Hanif Abdurraqi, but it's interesting that this is considered a memoir for this. I'm going to go ahead and vote for Grief is for People. History and biography. All right, I apparently have not read any history this year. Let's look. What's American Scary? This feels like something I and my book club would be really interested in. Okay, this I'm going to put on my radar. Maybe I can get that on Libro.fm. After I actually finish rereading The Wager on audio, I'm going to need something to read next. And I feel like kind of in a nonfiction vein. Okay, that is that. So I guess I'm going to stop the screen sharing. That feels very anticlimactic. And at the same time, I was expecting it to feel very anticlimactic. So I don't know what to bring out of this. I'm honestly, other than the fantasy section, I'm feeling kind of uninspired by these titles. And I don't know if it's just me or like the selection overall, I should say. I think that I'm just in a weird reading space right now too, but I don't know. I do need to, there are a lot of books in a lot of these other categories, admittedly, that I do have on my radar and I do need to read. So it may also just be that I have not read enough this year, point blank period, which is absolutely fair. I want to go back and look. I know I turned off the screen sharing, but I'm going to go back and glance just quickly at the 2022 awards, mostly because I want to remind myself of the categories. Because, okay, there was humor, there was the graphic novels and comics category, there was the poetry category, and then the middle grade. So those categories all got cut in favor, I guess, this year of romantasy. Again, the audiobook category is new, but I feel like we are not moving to categories in a way that actually makes me more interested. Like, I would have loved to see, like I said before, a short story category. I would have loved to see that poetry category stay, like I've said in the past, because even if I am not as well read in that category as I should be, even if the average user isn't as well read in that category as we should be, it still introduces us to new collections and new literature. Same with middle grade. And I know that Rick Riordan had a kind of funny subtweet, funny in a sad way, where he was like, I know I said stop nominating me for this, but I didn't mean get rid of the entire category. And I think that this category, middle grade in particular, is so important. Like I've said before, one, for that representation, but two, because it's a way for there to be some familiarity with what's going on in the category going in to the holiday gift giving season, especially and most importantly, if you have a middle grade reader in your life. And I wonder if that is kind of indicative of where middle grade is kind of sitting as a category right now. And I feel like middle grade and young adult across the board really are in this weird kind of space right now, which of course is not helped and probably partially caused by the really robust culture of book banning and book contesting right now. So I don't know exactly what to do with that. Some books I would have loved to see on this list, I would have loved to see Woodworm by Leila Martinez. I would have loved to see the new Alvaro Enrique. Let me remind myself of the title there. I would have loved to see Glorious Exploits, like I mentioned, in another category other than debut, because I think it qualifies as another category, and I really think it's an excellent book and one of the best of the year. It's interesting that we didn't see a novel story anywhere, because I feel like that was really well received. I'm sad that we didn't see The Prospects by Katie Hoffman or the new Cat Sebastian in romance. I need to still read the new Cat Sebastian. I've loved The Prospects though, both as a book and as an audiobook since I read it on audio. So I definitely would have voted for that for audio. I would have loved to see Thirst by Marina Sasuzek on the list, but I understand because it very much is like two very separate parts of the narrative, and I do think a lot of readers get bogged down in the contemporary part. So I understand kind of why that may not have worked for some readers, but I still would have loved to see it recognized. The Alvaro Enrique was You Dreamed of Empires. Again, experimental, interesting, darkly funny. Lots to dig into there. A Tempest of Tea, which wasn't perfect for me as a reader by any means, but I really do love Hafsa Faisal, and it is fun. And so it's weird that it wasn't there. And if we had had a graphic novel section, I would have been lobbying really hard for Ghost Roast. Actually, let me see if there's going to be another Ghost Roast graphic novel. I don't see anything yet, but I want one. This is my petition for you personally to read Ghost Roast so that I can get more graphic novels in this world, especially because you've already let me down on The Conductors and The Undertakers, and it doesn't seem like we're gonna get any more in that world, which I know is a separate author from years past, but I really wanted more books in that world, okay? Okay, so yeah, I don't know. I'm again still feeling like this onigiri, but I'm glad to see The Warm Hands of Ghosts here. I'm glad, or was glad, to see The Ministry of Time here. There are obviously great books here. I just need to get on it. The fact that I haven't read anything that is nominated for fiction this year is not good for me. I don't love that for me. Or historical fiction, especially considering there are, again, multiple titles that really are on my TBR here. And I'm not going to beat myself up too much in consideration of it being a weird reading year, because that happens. Life happens, brains happen. But I don't know. And I think that it's the categories. I think that it's just been a weird reading year across the board. I don't know. I would be very interested to hear your thoughts here and whether you're really excited about a lot of these books, whether you're a little bit underwhelmed, whether you're all the way underwhelmed, whether there are books on these lists that you really think that I need to read. If there are things you think I should slip in before the final round. If you think after this we even should reconvene for the final round, whether in this format or live, let me know, because I feel I am letting you down in this moment. But with that, I'm not going to drag this out. It is what it is. Though, as we are kind of heading into the holiday season, some of you may have seen on my community tab, I'm playing with the idea of posting some more content for Bookmas. And of course, that's also going to be kind of predicated on what my workload at work is looking like and where my social life is at any given moment. But I do have a lot of ideas. I would like to participate and have a little bit more community around the season if possible. But I want to know, if you haven't already responded, or even if you have, if that's something that's even of interest to you, and as importantly, whether it's of interest or not, if there's an amount or frequency of posting that would just annoy you at the end of the day. But let me know, or if there's specific videos within that. I'm not looking to theme them all to like the holiday season, but again, just kind of doing that more frequent upload and see what we can do. So if there's anything in particular you would like to see within that time as well, let me know and I can see if I can make it happen. But yeah, I don't know. This feels like a weird one, doesn't it? But that's what we've got. Those were the Goodreads Choice Awards. And let me know, like I said, what you're thinking about all of it. But thank you, as always, for popping over, hanging out, and being interested in what I have to say. Like and subscribe if you feel like it. Read something good. And yeah, bye.